lot of entertainment here. Hotel's wonderful. Hospitality is wonderful. Our guys love SeaWorld, Disneyland, Disney World, and just a wonderful trip. The food's been great. The other thing I like about the Citrus Bowl is they give you the freedom to coach. They give you the freedom to practice. Not a lot of required events, but the required events that you go to are first class.
That's high praise for a guy based in Baton Rouge to compliment the food.
Well, you know I like food wherever I go, probably.
Thanks, Coach. Coach Kelly, this is obviously Notre Dame's first trip to the Citrus Bowl in its storied history. It's kind of amazing when you think about Florida Citrus Sports has been around since 1947, and we haven't seen you guys here. So welcome to Orlando officially, and tell us a little bit about the week, would you?
Well, it's been a great week. Our kids have really enjoyed, obviously the opportunity to be here in such an esteemed bowl. As you mentioned, 71 years, rates up there, obviously, as a New Year's Day bowl game, as one where teams want this as a destination. For us, it was a matter of balancing, the want to accomplish something in winning 10 games and getting the reward of having an outstanding season. So our guys worked hard during the day, and then when practice was over, the bowl put on incredible entertainment, whether it was go-kart racing or the theme parks, community service events. It's just an outstanding bowl, well organized. Our hosts have been incredible, and again, as it relates to the bowls, it for us was it was an outstanding event.
Thank you. What have you enjoyed the most this week so far?
I think more than anything else, the hospitality. Certainly, if you look at the Weather Channel, South Bend's a little frigid right now. We'll take. I think we ran into a few people from this area that had winter jackets on. Our guys had short sleeves on, so the weather's been great. But I think it's the hospitality, it's the organization of the bowl. And look, when you've been doing it for 71 years, you know you're in a first-class event and the way everybody's been treating us.
Well, I'm not thinking that the opposing team is going to be all that hospitable on game day. And Coach Orgeron, if you'll just disclose all your game plans, there won't be too many questions for you today.
Stop the run.
Ditto. We're done.
Let's open it up to questions. Please raise your hands high, right in the front.
For both coaches, when you've had a month to prepare, are there any secrets at all when you get into a game? Basically, you've seen a month's worth of film of both teams. I mean, is it pretty much execution and not secrecy?
You know, what we face, Ron, is when you break down 12 games, there's a lot of different things that you have to cover. And obviously, in a bowl game, we don't know exactly what game plan we're going to see. So it makes you cover more things than you probably would if you were playing an in-season game.
I think my biggest concern when you have a layoff is, certainly you have to understand, how an offense and defense is going to attack you. But it's tackling, it's playing fast, it's, you're away from the game for a month. It's the fundamentals. It's special teams that scare the heck out of me. Those are the little things that when you're away from it for a month that you're really focusing on. Because, look, as Ed said, you could spend hours of looking at every play because you've got every game. You've got a full volume of games to look at. This is about blocking and tackling, fundamentals and special teams. Those are the things that I stay up thinking about.
Over here.
Coach Kelly, let's start with you, and then the follow-up will be to you, Coach Orgeron. Coach Kelly, when you look at the film, what is it that jumps off the screen about LSU and the SEC style of football?
Well, very similar to Georgia, and their defensive presentation, 3 down, aggressive off the edge, press coverage. They're really dictating how they're going to play you. They're not sitting back. It's not a, we're going to bend but don't break defense. This is an in-your-face, physical, fast defense that, they're going to force you into errors. On the other hand, offensively, it's a bit of a different philosophy in the sense that, they're going to probe and prod and they're going to look for their opportunities, and when they hit it big. So it's really a contrast of offense and defense. But I think for me, what is the thing that overshadows all of it is there's athletes on both sides of the ball.
And Coach Orgeron, kind of the same question then to you, just kind of flipped. When you look at the film and you see the gold helmets flying, what jumps off the screen to you about Notre Dame football?
That left guard and left tackle. Can't keep my eyes off of them. The best combo I've ever been against. And they're not only good players, they're well coached. Their combo blocks. I remember watching an opponent. They had a defensive tackle that we know very well, and he was 9 yards off the ball, and the way the precision, the way they block, the precision in which Josh runs the football, and their quarterback's dangerous. Obviously, he's a dual threat quarterback. He's dangerous with the ball in his hands. They great game plan on defense. The way the defense plays, they're tough, they're physical, they run through the ball. Like Coach says, they tackle. This is a good football team.
Right here.
Brian, this is for you. Excuse me. Given the mission your team's been on ever since last January, what would it mean for you guys to get to 10 wins and also to win a New Year's Day bowl game?
Well, certainly, I think you go into every season, there's 100 and whatever, I don't know how many teams are in Division 1A anymore. It keeps kind of expanding, but 120-plus teams all coming for the same goal, and that's to be one of those 4 teams. If you're not able to get that, you're still on the same mission after this game, and that is to keep working towards a national championship. In the meantime, it's to play on a January 1 bowl game and to be part of this. So the winning and losing of a particular game, sometimes there's too much placed on it. We want to win the football game. There's no question. LSU certainly wants to win the football game. But when you look at it in totality, our football team has really grown. They put themselves in a position that they can continue to build even after this game. But 10 wins is usually the mark in college football. Everybody's looking to get to double digits, so it would be a big accomplishment to get to 10.
Coach O, typically the bowl game is momentum into the recruiting season, and now you've got a lot of the recruiting done going into the bowl game. But just overall, what would a victory combined with, I guess, a top 10 recruiting class mean for all season?
I think it just shows you your recruits where your program's going. And like Coach said, 10 wins is the mark. Obviously, everybody wants to be in the championship, but for us to be here is an accomplishment already. And then to play a team like Notre Dame, who I thought at one time in the country was one of the best teams in the country, and I still think they are. And this is a tremendous challenge for us. To be able to win this game, as you know, when you win the bowl game like we did last year, last 6-7 months, there's a lot of positive talk about your program, and it's an uplifting feeling going into recruiting. Obviously, we only have 4 guys left, but 4 slots left, but those are 4 big slots, and this is going to help, but it also helps in junior recruiting. Everything is sped up, so this is huge. This is huge for our program.
For Coach O, when you were at Miami and Southern Cal, you played Notre Dame a lot. What was the difference in the 2 rivalries when you were at Miami and when you were at Southern Cal?
About the same, to be honest, about the same. It was a heated rivalry in Miami. Obviously, my first game was Catholics versus the Convicts, 1988. I remember that tunnel vividly, and I remember the game, and I remember the next game. And they beat us up there, and they came down to the Orange Bowl, and we beat them. It was a rivalry, and they had a lot of great players in it. And USC was the same thing. USC, that was the game. And so now, obviously against LSU, this is not our rivalry game, but it's a marquee matchup. It's a team that we respect. We're similar in a lot of ways, very physical. Programs are similar in a lot of ways, storied, rich tradition. A lot of great coaches have coached at both LSU and Notre Dame. A lot of championships have been won.
Just a few more questions.
This one's for you, Coach Kelly, right here in the back. I think you compared it maybe to Navy yesterday, but this LSU offense, have you seen something like it this year with all their motions and shifts?
No, nothing compares to it. You get your occasional, kick the line here and Xerox check it over to this side, but the amount of shifting and motioning and Xerox motioning, it's difficult to defend. You have to be, on it. Your safeties have to be able to check, and the communication is really the key here, right? So, when you're making these checks, you've got 18 to 22-year-olds trying to communicate to a bunch of guys that have got their hand in the dirt, and it becomes problematic at times. So, and that's just the start of it. You got guys, you've got great receivers on the perimeter. You've got one of the better offensive lines that we played, if not the best offensive line we played. So add that to the mix, and you can see, what our problems are.
Ed, KJ Malone, could you just kind of address his status going into this one?
Yeah, I think he's fine, ready to play. He's practiced all week. I think he should be fine.
Do you plan to start him?
Yep.
Questions? In the back here. Go ahead.
Coach, when it comes to defending a running quarterback, you guys have done pretty good this year. Now you have to do it with 3 starting linebackers out. How much does discipline for those younger guys become
It's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging, especially to know when to rush the passer, when not to rush the passer. Obviously, he's very dangerous when he runs the ball. His quarterback draws the best we've seen. And then also the pulling guards. When those pulling guards come around, they are very, very physical, and they have destroyed some outside linebackers. So we have our work cut out for us at that position. Now I know the guys are ready. They're ready for the challenge. But when you lose a outstanding player like Arden Key and a senior like Corey, it's going to be a challenge. But those guys got to step up. Next man up.
Coach O, this will be the last game for Pete Jenkins.
Yeah.
Just what has he meant for you as your development as a coach and maybe beyond that?
Yeah, Pete's more than a coach to me. Pete has been like a mentor. He is the best technical defensive line coach I've ever been around. Everybody goes to study Pete, but the thing that's great about Pete is he loves LSU. He loves people. He's a great communicator. Although he's 76 years old, our players love him. He's fun. He's fun to be around. But, the thing, and I said this in an article before, he helped me become a better head coach. He helped me become a better head coach at USC, and especially at LSU. He'd come up to me and say, Coach, this is what Orangeburger did. This is what we did with Stovall. This is what we did with Saban. We'd handle this situation just like you handle it. We'd handle it a little bit different. And as Coach Kelly and I was talking about before here, the situation that arises every day. You don't know what's going to happen, but you need to be prepared. So to have a guy like Pete Jenkins on the staff to run stuff by, I run almost every decision I make through Pete. He's been wonderful.
We got one back here. Any questions? Right here, please. Wait for the microphone. Thank you.
Coach, you mentioned running every decision by Pete. How do you replace that type of mentorship on your staff?
Cell phone.
We've got one up here, please.
For both coaches, Coach Kelly alluded to it earlier, but the importance of special teams. Could you discuss your preparations and attention, I guess, because you have the extra time, does it help prepare that aspect of your team?
Well, they're very dynamic, especially in the punt return game. Their punt returner is outstanding. He is a factor in this game for us. And when you're indoors, you don't get the same, kind of sense of that. So, we really have to work hard on that element of coverage and punting it away when we got down here. So that's a big concern. We're going to have to, really sense that out in terms of how they defend us. In terms of how the punt game goes. That's generally the biggest concern going into these games, as well as your kickoff coverage. If you can't kick it out of the back of the end zone, guys are going down there for the first time really in a live situation, because you're not duplicating that for a month where guys are trying to get off blocks and get to the football. So special teams is a big piece of what goes on early on in our thought process in terms of getting the right players on the field to make sure that you minimize the potential for big plays there.
Right here. Please.
You know, sets the tempo is the first play of the game, and we tell our guys, you know, obviously, as Coach says, most of the time for us is the kickoff team, and we have a new guys going to be kicking off. Gamble will not be there, so you know, obviously we want to kick it through the end zone, and hopefully it goes through the end zone. But the coverage team is very, very important to us. They're very good on special teams, good athletes, very well coached. We don't know how our field goal kicker is. We haven't made that decision yet. So there's a lot of question marks for us in our special teams. Like Coach said, we have a very good punt return game. We feel excited about it, but it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a big part of the game.
Coach Kelly, what's the key to getting your quarterback comfortable and getting his passing percentages up a little bit in a game like this?
Well, you know, I don't think that all of a sudden he's going to become a 75, 80% completion, you know, percentage guy. I mean, those are the things that he's going to work on in the off season. But I think we can put him in positions where, you know, really as we went through the year and got a chance to study the things that he does well. He's thrown 7 touchdown passes on drive routes to no interceptions, you know, things like that. When you do a deeper dive on some of the things that he does well, we're going to feature much more of that, you know, when you have a month to prepare. You know, it just goes to being smart with your quarterback because he's got some work to do in the offseason. But he's a dynamic runner. He's got great traits. He's a competitor. He finds a way and wills his way into making plays. And now it's up to us as coaches to put him in a good position to succeed.
Brian, right here. You talked about the importance of playing on New Year's Day. Obviously, Notre Dame has not won a New Year's Day bowl game in 20-something years. What's the importance to you to kind of just to get a victory, to get that stigma off your program's back?
Boy, the way you put that, I feel like I need to take a shower. Again, I think you put yourself in these opportunities. Continuously get yourself involved in these chances and these opportunities, and you're going to succeed. You can't end that streak unless you get back here, and we're going to do that. But again, I think that, you know, you can make numbers look any way you want them. This is the second time in 3 years we played on a New Year's Day game. We're going to be successful as a program. And how it's perceived is out of our hands. We're just going to keep working hard to get back to these games.
In the back.
Good morning. Good morning, Coach Orgeron. Manuel De Leon with the Skybo.com. Like you mentioned before, you're missing a lot of key players on defense, and you have young guys filling in those roles. How have they looked, and what do you expect from them throughout this game?
They'll step up. They'll step up. There's a lot of different offense that we have to defend. Their quarterback runs, their power game, big offensive line coming right at you. You got to take on block, shed, and then tackle a big back. Fundamentals that Coach was talking about, the guys are ready. We worked hard on it, but you know, there's going to be adjustments. Anytime there will be adjustments during the game that we're going to have to make. I think that's one thing our defensive staff does a great job of. Dave and Pete, the guys on the sideline, they may give us something new. We're going to need to be prepared to do. There may be a formation or two those young guys can't handle. We have to draw it up on the sideline. We've got to get it fixed. The key is that we've got to get it fixed right away. We can't let them keep on attacking us one way and not fix it. With young guys, that becomes a challenge.
Right here, then the TV riser.
Coach O, what have you enjoyed about being around Darius Geis, and what do his teammates enjoy about being around Darius?
His energy, his tenacity, his everyday work ethic. I've never seen Darius with too much of a workload. I mean, it comes easy. I mean, he comes to work, he's ready to go. I think that week off to heal some injuries helped him. He's had some of his best practices I've seen, and I really want to compliment him for playing in this game. Obviously, other people may make other choices, which I don't think is right. I think you need to finish with your team if you're healthy. Darius is healthy. He's ready to go. He had some little nicks and bruises he could have used as an excuse. He didn't. He wanted to represent LSU and finish the right way. If indeed this is his last game, he hasn't told me it is yet. So I'm very proud of him in that manner. And I think that once you do that as a junior, the LSU family or any family will respect you. And the thing about coming to college is getting your education and networking. And you're networking, you want to keep in good faith with those guys. And I think this is going to pay off for Darius in the long run.
You said other people, you mean outside pressures?
Well, I don't know, but I just think that, juniors, some juniors decide not to play in the bowl. And I think that lets your team down. And I think that Darius could have done that, and he didn't do it. And we had a long conversation about that, and he was not going to do that. And that makes me proud for Darius. It shows that he's a team member.
Some questions back here.
Ed, you've had some pretty explosive running backs the past couple of years with Leonard and Darius. Does that help your defense going up against a guy like Josh?
Sure. Sure it does. But every back is different, and Josh is different, and their line's different. And it's hard to simulate that. As much as we did and try to do it in practice, we're going to have to tackle. And he's going to break some tackles. We have to gang tackle, and their line's going to get some good blocks. We just need to keep on fighting. This is going to be a battle in the trenches for 60 minutes.